Welcome back to Magic Hour Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Taylor Paige.
And this is Claire. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
I'm really excited and looking forward to diving into Mayan astrology with Christine today. I think that there's so many interesting modalities, and it's really inspiring for me to see how different cultures create their own systems of esoteric knowledge as it comes to the stars and the earth and the cycles and the rhythms. And I really, truly believe spirit gets the message through every single system, and it's not like one's more right or one's wrong. I really believe that every single one has value to add to the conversation.
And it's just so cool knowing about how long this has been in practice in so many different types of cultures and how present the connection between humans and the stars and the planets that has been happening. It's not a new thing, and it's been happening in so many different cultures in so many different ways. And I love exploring that type of stuff. I love exploring ancient cultures or ruins. It's just so fascinating to think about how people were relating to each other back in the day and how they were coming together and what they believed in. I just find it so fascinating.
I agree. I think it's so cool. And it's like in some ways we've progressed, and in some ways we've forgotten so much. And almost what's the point of progressing if we've disconnected from nature, each other, community, wisdom? It's like, have we really progressed? Yes, life expectancy and medicine and things like that. We've never lived more comfortable lives, but spiritually, I think we've regressed.
Totally. And that is such an interesting juxtaposition as we become more knowledgeable, as we gain so many more things, as life becomes easier, it does become almost more complicated. I feel like the things that we stress about and worry about, sometimes I'm like, man, I just wish we were frolicking next to a river and eating yummy fruits and vegetables and just hanging out with our community. That seems so much better.
I know, right? Who invented taxes and healthcare? They need to be sued. Class action lawsuit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, before we get into this episode with Christine, I'm super excited that it's time for our, what is this, Claire? The fourth giveaway? The fifth giveaway?
I think it's the 4th.
Okay, I think so too. Well, it's time for our, we think, fourth giveaway.
Woo, woo.
Yes. And so we've reached 288 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thank you guys so, so much for your reviews. We sincerely love and care and read every single one, and it just lights us up and reminds us of our why. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Our next giveaway will be when we hit 333 5-star reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We've hit it on Spotify already, but we haven't on Apple. And so feel free to leave a 5-star review there and let us know how much you love us. We love it. It also helps us find amazing guests and new listeners find the pod, all of that good stuff. So the way that you can enter the giveaway is leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, subscribe to the YouTube, or share us on your stories on Instagram. Each one of those is one submission, and then you email screenshots of those entries to contact@magichourpod.com, and that enters you into all future giveaways as well. And the exciting thing about today's giveaway is that there's going to be 3 winners, which is so exciting. One of you is going to win a angel reading or mediumship reading with me, or a mixture of both. And then 2 are going to win any 3-part workshop of your choice. So Claire, will you do the honors? Let's start with the 2 that win the workshops.
Okay, great. So exciting, you guys. We love you so much. We can't tell you how much it means to us that you send these in. I'm closing my eyes because I'm randomly selecting a name. Maji Claire.
We hope we're saying your name right, Maji.
I hope so. It's Maji. Maji, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds right. Maji sounds right. So congratulations. I cannot wait. Just email us at contact@magichourpod.com or scheduling@angelsandamethyst.com. Let us know whatever 3-part workshop you want, and we will send it to you, baby. Okay, who is our second workshop winner?
This is so fun, you guys. Okay. I love it. Okay. Winner number 2. Catherine Campbell.
Catherine Campbell, you get a workshop. You get a workshop. Everybody gets a workshop. Check under your seat, everyone, wherever you're listening. Check under your seat right now. Workshop for you. Workshop. You get a color. You get a reading.
But seriously, just Catherine Campbell. No.
Just Maji and Catherine. Okay. Yeah. And now for the grand finale, the winner of the reading.
Okay. Mela Burzens.
Woo!
Yay, Mel!
That is so awesome. That is one of my former mentees. So she was in round 1 of becoming the Oracle. So that's so amazing.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, I'm excited to reconnect with her. So awesome. And we'll make sure to email you guys and be in touch. And we're just sending you all so much love. Thank you all so much for supporting Magic Hour. As you guys know, we're a super indie podcast, and without community support, it would not be possible to keep the project running. So tell your friends, share us, like us, engage with our content, and we really hope to continue to serve this community for a long time to come. Without further ado, Christine Olivia Hernandez is the author of Remember Your Roots and the Mayan Oracle Deck and several children's books. She is a Mayan astrologer, cacao ceremonialist, and spiritual guide. Through her programs, the Molly Talks Gratitude Method and the Revival, she helps thousands with ancestral healing, supporting body, mind, and soul connection. She supports the creation and development of indigenous cacao farms and women's collectives in Guatemala and Mexico, where her lineages are from. Find her at IamChristineOlivia.com. Christine, welcome to Magic Hour. Really, really excited to get to chat with you today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. So we always start by asking, what is your big 3 in astrology? In Western astrology, I should say.
So I'm a Sun Aries, Moon Aries, and Libra rising.
Interesting. Yes. So you are born on the Aries new moon. I love that. I'm an Aries rising, and Chiron, the planet of like the wound, has been navigating Aries lately. It's been a very deep time for some Aries placements, I feel.
I also heard that I was born on an eclipse as well, right? Is that correct with the Aries?
Well, when the sun and the moon are in the same sign in Western astrology, it shows that you are born in the new moon because the sun and the moon are together. So it could be an eclipse too. And I find that when you're born on the new moon, there's like karmic lessons about you planting new seeds within that archetypal consciousness. So, like the trailblazer, the pioneer, the leader, the authentic self, like confrontation, being in your power, strength, like this is a lifetime for, especially if it was an eclipse, like karmic soul level lessons around the Aries archetype.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. The second question that I like to ask is, how does your intuition speak to you?
For me, it's through knowing, feeling. It's somatically in the body, and yeah, a felt experience, but also through dreams. I receive a lot of knowings through dreams too.
Interesting. Yeah. I feel like feeling and knowing go together so deeply. And I feel like without feeling, it takes a lot longer to get to knowing. Like we really have to feel to get to knowing. So I love that answer. And so when you get your knowings from dreams, how can you tell the difference between sort of a chaos psyche, like detangling dream, and something that feels more rooted in spirit to you?
It's very subtle, but I'm a big dreamer. So those of us who are big dreamers, lots and lots of dreams, there's a little bit of a difference, and it's a subtle difference in knowing. But a beautiful way to really know is to set intentions. For me, if I set an intention before sleep and go into it with questions and desiring of clarity, yeah, it comes through in that way.
I feel that too. I'm a very vivid dreamer. And I feel that when I wake up from a dream that really has a message for me, I feel like there's a lasting sense of feeling, and the dream stays with you and it like changes you when you wake up. Whereas the kind of nonsensical chaos dreams that are just our brain like storing memories don't have that same deeply embodied sense of purpose or intention or urgency that the other types of dreams have.
Yeah, and for me, I'll have like ancestors come through in the dreams and they'll support me with the message or an understanding of something I've been feeling into or desiring to know more about. Ancestors can support and come through in that way for me.
I love that. I feel like the dream space is such a beautiful portal for mediumship development. And it's like a place where we really can put our waking mind aside and just be in an open place to receive. So I love that aspect of it too.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to get into Mayan astrology with you today because as a Western astrologer, I'm so fascinated by other modalities and ways of looking at the measure of time. And I love how just like a brief dip into how Mayans practice astrology is so different than Western astrology. So I'm so excited to get into it. So I'm wondering if you can just talk a little bit about your path to this work and also how you would describe Mayan astrology.
Yeah. So how it started for me is I was introduced to Mayan cacao from Guatemala, and that led me on this path and understanding and reconnection back to my heart, back to my connection to my ancestors. So my father was Mayan from Guatemala, and also I have a lineage where I have both roots, Mayan roots from Mexico as well as Guatemala. So that helped me in coming back into this understanding, wow, there's something really beautiful about these cultures and about myself that I didn't know about. That led me to then, going to the lands to connect with the ancestors of the lands because I didn't have living relatives in Guatemala specifically. So I would just go and commune with the lands, connect with the lands, learn more about cacao, and that's been a really beautiful medicine and plant ally for me. I also source it from Guatemala and Mexico because of that reason and how potent it is when you have it in its purity. And then that led me to understanding more about the calendar, learning more, finding elders, wisdom keepers, and teachers because I didn't have my own relatives to connect with there. So it was just starting from the bottom, starting with the land and in the soil. So that's how it began for me. And so with Mayan cosmology, it's an understanding that everything is interconnected. It's more than just astrology and stars. It's really understanding the patterns of the cosmic patterns as well as the earthly patterns. Understanding who you are on a soul level and how you're meant to walk throughout this dimensional plane in a good way and honoring of those energies. So the Maya were keen observers of time and space and understanding that everything is woven together, right? The cosmos, nature, the human, time, space, everything, everything. So when you understand the energy that you come in with and you understand the challenges you'll face, what comes easy to you, what your soul's purpose is, also how you can be supportive to the collective, because there's that deep understanding that we are all connected. So how can we be a part of it? And walk it in a good way, supporting our sisters, our brothers, right? The land, each other. The Maya were incredible inventors and creators, artists, scientists, mathematicians. They're amazing. And their calendars are the most accurate calendars in human history. So there are over 20 calendars. You have the long count calendar that mapped out 5,125 years in advance, and that predicted every solstice and equinox, honoring that time of balance, right? They really understand and understood the time and space and how we can move with it, knowing that it's alive. And so how can we move with the rhythm and in flow with it rather than moving towards the current and making it harder for ourselves? So that long count calendar, the reason why we know about 2012 is because of that calendar. That was the end of one cycle and the beginning of the new cycle, which was the prophecy of the fifth sun. So coming into the fifth sun is a new era of consciousness. So as we can see, we're in that shift and in that awakening right now, right? We can feel that, we can see that, we know that's happening in this moment. So, that was the long count. Then you have the Hab, which is the agriculture calendar, and then you have the Tolki or Tolkien, and that's the sacred Mayan calendar. And that calendar is to support us on our spiritual path. So understanding what you come in with, but also understanding that every day has a unique energy or flavor. And so how can you live in flow with that? You have to work with the calendar to see, okay, what is the energy of today? For instance, One day may be good for productivity, but another day is good for creativity or working with mental health or, your sexual energy or your relationships or what have you, right? Every day is very different. There's a different flavor every single day. And so with the Gregorian calendar, because that was made by, Pope Gregory the 13th, that was made so that you would pay taxes and stay on their schedule. And so that feeling of like productivity needs to happen these days, and then you just have rest for these 2 days, it's not natural and goes against your natural rhythms. So this is why it's really beautiful to be able to have a place where you can come in the morning, come into connection with sacred time, because when you do that, living in sacred time allows you to live connected to source and to your soul's essence. And again, to live and flow with the natural rhythms. And then this is where you see things just making sense. Life makes more sense to you. Things flow, and you'll see like more magic, more synchronicities, all of these things coming online. So a way that you can come into sacred time on my website, I'm actually working on it now so that on the daily you can say, okay, what's going on for today? What's going on in the sacred calendar today? So I'm really excited about that.
That's amazing. There's so much juicy stuff. I mean, one thing that pops into my head that I really liked what you said is how Mayan astrology also focuses on how you can support your community and be a support. Because I feel like a part of decolonizing spiritual spaces is this like late stage capitalism idea of individualism that's so woven into our spiritual practices. And it's all about like manifesting $1 million and being personally successful while the world's on fire and community is suffering. So I love that deep energetic codes of Mayan astrology focus on service. And I think that that's such an important part of spirituality, that patriarchy in a little mask and capitalism in a little mask is like, posing as spirituality in those ways. So I really love that. And also, what came through is how Mayan astrology is also a blueprint for us in decolonizing our perceptions of the measurements of time. Because I so agree with, or not even agree, it's just a fact about the Gregorian calendar and how it disconnects us. It's like it set the new year in the dead of winter when people would be with their family and doing these like fire festivals and things like that. But instead, it's like, nope, new year. What are your goals? Get to work. That doesn't come until in Western astrology, Aries season with the spring and the spring equinox. And so I think that it's so obvious how like patriarchy and capitalism thrives when we disconnect from our embodied feeling and what nature models and plugs into a story of what we should be, how we should feel, what we should be doing. So I love peeking backwards into a system before those influences could poison it.
Yeah, I love what you said. And yeah, we get to remember that we are just like nature. We're just like the earth. We also have our seasons and our cycles, just like the earth does, just like the moon does, just like the sun does as well. Everything mirroring each other and being these divine patterns. And what a time like the equinox teaches us, right, is like that balance. And these different seasons, they teach us something new. But what's so fascinating about the honoring of the equinoxes and the solstices, there's so much to honor when you look at that. So there's a reason why, even with the architecture of the pyramids that the Maya created, it was honoring the stars and the equinoxes and the solstices. It was in alignment with the stars. And it's because of that reminder of like, hey, this is a time where we get to come into balance. There's going to be a season here where we need a little bit more rest, or a season where we can be more productive and, feel into so much gratitude for all of the abundance. But gratitude is actually a really important topic to talk about, period, because it is like the cheat code to life. And that is a staple in all indigenous cultures. But to the Maya, gratitude is everything, right? So these ceremonies we're creating and everything we're doing, we're feeling into gratitude on the daily, making this a felt experience and an embodiment, because to be grateful is to live in harmony, to be healthy and happy. So there's a word I love to share with people. It's called matiosh. It's Maltyox. That's matiosh. And it means deeply felt gratitude, not just a simple thank you. But what does it mean to be so grateful in the body, really making it real, right? And the Maya, we think from our hearts to the hearts of things, knowing that spirit is in everything. So I share that word with you, Matiosh, because you can use it in your own gratitude practice, really connecting to this ancient word and frequency that holds and carries a deeper frequency than just a simple thank you. So
That's so beautiful. And I feel like it's so hard to be in gratitude and survival mode at the same time. And I think that these structures that we're living in, and in particular, these measurements of time, keep us so burned out and so disconnected. But I think that like gratitude is what I call a bridge frequency to our higher self. And when we're in that gratitude state, it's the fastest way that we can actually access the part of us that's spirit, in my experience. And there can just be moments when your life is in alignment where you're just like hit with, like, wow, this is my life. And I'm so grateful. And it opens you up to just like feeling so deeply the part of you that's spirit. And I really think that the Mayans focusing on gratitude as like a core frequency of a litmus test almost of how in alignment they are with the energy of every day is so interesting, because I think that it is a really good blueprint for us. There's so much wisdom in just looking backwards. Like, we don't have to have all the answers. We just have to look backwards to what worked forever before these systems came into place. And I love I love that, Matiosh, and I love that connection to gratitude. And if we're having a hard time connecting to gratitude, there is a disconnection from our feelings, our alignment, our highest timeline, because it's hard to feel gratitude if you're not connected with those things.
yeah, and it's like we can hold so much. We can hold our grief and we can hold our gratitude. And actually it's essential to hold on to the thread of gratitude. So I actually wrote a book called Remember Your Roots. And, it's filled with Mayan wisdom and my story as well. But the thread within that is gratitude, so that you can become the embodiment of gratitude and have these beautiful practices, really making it a habit, really living in Thanksgiving. But it's not just for the things that you have or that are good, right? It's also very important, and the Maya teach that we must give thanks to even the most challenging of things, even the worst of the worst things that you've experienced, because of what it taught you, right? You would not understand how resilient, how strong, how powerful you are unless you had gone and moved through some hard things. I know this very clearly because I am, for instance, a 3 ash poo, okay? 3 representing some challenges, representing also so much depth within. Now, your Mayan sign always has a number and it has a Nawal. Those come together to make, there's 20 Nawals, the 13 cycles that come together to make the 260 unique combinations within the sacred Mayan calendar. So I'm 3 Ashpu, and Ashpu is the sun, and I'm here to shine, right? But I cannot shine like the sun unless I really understand the darkness. And so this is why we give thanks for the darkness, for really showing me what it means to be the light and knowing that I carry the light within me always. And I wouldn't have known that otherwise, right? But yeah, that's my sign for example.
Love that reminder and reframe of like, you don't have to be in this like blissed out full body state for gratitude. Like, gratitude can happen in little whispers, silver linings, things that like remind you along the path. And I feel that so deeply too. Before we go into the numbers and the signs, which I'm super interested in, you mentioned a fifth sun cycle, and I was wondering if you could explain what that is.
So the fifth sun is the prophecy. It's the prophecy of the fifth sun, meaning that we are in a new era, and that began 2012, right? That's why we know about it. So there was a man named Jose Arugales who appropriated the Mayan calendar and a Chinese calendar and a Vedic calendar and created his own thing in the 80s. So actually a lot of people know about 2012 because of him. And they also, unfortunately, know about a fake Mayan calendar online because of him as well. If you Google Mayan astrology, what usually comes up in the beginning is that fake calendar, which is just so unfortunate. But yeah, the Maya were predicting this new era, which was just a shift of consciousness, another era. And this is the era of us waking up, the awakening, right? Which, like I had mentioned, it's like we feel that. We know that's happening. This big shift is happening. And it's a convergence of prophecies. It wasn't just the Maya that had this prediction for this time, right? Was also predicted by the Hopi. And then you have the seventh generation prophecy, the eagle and condor, the rising of the feminine, which is very much, I think, felt within us collectively. And then there's another prophecy that I always love to share by this Mexico ruler in the 1500s. His name was Cuauhtemoc. And he prophesied that at this time, and that there would be a time where the descendants of the colonizers would come to the indigenous people to learn the wisdom from them. And as we can see, this is like happening in a really big way. People are remembering, wait, I have this connection, this ability to connect with this wisdom. And there's something there. There's a lot there to learn from, a lot to remember so that we can really make this shift in a good way, because I think there is a choice that we do have to make too.
And I think it's so funny, like the whole 2012 thing was so sensationalized. It's like the world is ending, and obviously fear sells, and that just took off like wildfire. But it's like the death card in tarot. It's like it's not a literal ending or death. It's a symbolic one in the end of an era. And it's so accurate though. Like everything from 2012 on feels like a new world. Like the way technology and social media started emerging more around that time, like the 2016 elections, which have had a ripple effect in crazy ways. Like we are in a new era, and it feels like what I'm calling the masterclass era.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all feeling it and we're right on time. And that's what's really fun about sharing, people's Mayan charts and like their tree of life. It's reminding you of the energy that you carry within you. Honestly, what it is an activation, because when it comes to reading the calendar, it's always been done so that it's not just sharing ancient technology, but it's also divination. It's also ceremony. So what happens is it's like an activation and a part of your reclamation. So it's very, ancestral too, very magical, but also very practical too.
Those are all my favorite keywords. I love that. So the Mayan year is a 260-day calendar instead of 365, right?
Exactly. 260 days, like the gestation period of a human. And it's made up of 20 Nawales, 20 energies, 13 cycles. And they come together to make those 260 unique combinations. The 20 Nawals, they reflect our 20 digits, our fingers and our toes, actually. And then the 13 cycles, they reflect our 13 joints. And so the joints to the Maya are like, how we know about the chakras. Well, these are all energy centers as well. And so those come together, and what it is like this understanding of wholeness, right? It's the micro to the macro universe. And so it's this beautiful reflection of the human in wholeness.
That just gave me full body chills. And I also love the number 13 because it's so sacred to the goddess, too. It's like the average amount of menstrual cycles women have a year, and it's been purposely so demonized by what I call patriarchal PR. So the fact that Mayans were like 13 is our number, I'm like, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's sacred. It's a sacred number. And I think that's why it's been demonized. Most things are pretty much backwards, upside down world that we've been living in for a little while here, because these things that empower us and that keep us connected, they empower us. They keep us in our power, right? And so we've been disconnected for a reason. So it's time to like remember. But this number 13 is very sacred to the Maya and what it represents, connection to the magic, connection to the unseen, connection to spirit and the ancestors. It's a beautiful number.
Yes. And so this practice, if I understand correctly, is less about looking at what the planets are doing every day and more about sort of reading more cosmic and earthly energy. Is that the right way to say it?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Okay. And so, what is that looking at then? Like, if it's not the planets, what is it looking
I
at?
was definitely looking at some of the stars and the moon, the sun, as well as the energetics of nature, what was happening with nature. So if you think about how they were living, they were even more connected probably than we could ever really be, perhaps in this lifetime, because of all of the systems in place that keep us a bit disconnected. I think we'd need to live in the forest and without a cell phone to do that. But the way that they were living, they were so deeply connected to nature. and to all things. And so they were able to then create this, not just with the observations and understandings of the patterns, but it is pattern recognition as well between those things, all things, but also the mathematics. They were incredible mathematicians. They created the concept of zero and actually used it within their calculations before Europe even understood zero. So there's that too. They were just so incredibly advanced.
They would have to be to accurately calculate all of the new moons, full moons, eclipses. Like, that's insane. As somebody who is not good at math, I'm like, woo, get me my chart calculator ASAP, because I don't even want to calculate like how many days 12 days ago was compared to where I am now. I just can't think that way. So yeah, that is so cool. And for that connection to nature that you were talking about, it's funny because I don't know if you've ever heard of the show Alone. It's on Netflix right now, but it's basically like, I think it's 10 survivalists dropped off at different locations, and they just have to survive off of the land, and whoever lasts the longest wins, basically. And it's like, I've had this experience throughout my life of craving nature, never feeling close enough to nature. Like, even when I'm hiking or I'm on a vacation or I'm around nature, I'm like, there's this discomfort of like wanting to be more integrated or part of nature. But it's like, what am I supposed to do? Roll in the grass, eat a leaf? Like, I don't know how to get physically closer. And when I watch Alone, I'm like, this is the part that we've been so disconnected and sanitized. That's that integration that I think so many of us are so hungry for, that like hikes just don't cut it. Vacations just don't cut it. Like, for such a long part of our human history, the land was in relationship with us, and we knew it intimately, and we knew the animals, and we knew the water, and we knew the patterns, and we lived off the land. And I obviously know like we've advanced and we're much more comfortable now, but there's this like peace that I feel so spiritually homesick for, that show kind of clicked into place. And it feels like the Mayan way of life and their calendar and their divination systems feels so integrated with that amazing feeling that I get.
Yeah, I think when you work with it, then that feeling comes back, that intimacy can come back. And like what I would recommend for that feeling of disconnection, what can really support and what has supported me is working with plants and like actually intaking them, right? In a way that is understanding a reciprocal relationship between you and the plant, like knowing, you're taking energetically, what can you give? So you're living in that symbiotic relationship. And yeah, it really expands you and opens you up to feeling so much depth within the more that you work with ceremonial cacao. And that's what began my journey and really set me on to this journey. So my plant ally, and if you're listening to this or if it feels something like it's calling to you, then you might work with that. But there can be other plant allies. You can do some research to find like, what are my ancestral plant allies? Maybe working with that to come back into connection. Because I think what's really important for all of us to remember is we all have unique blueprints. We all come into this world with those unique blueprints and unique lineages, and there's so much magic within it. And that is why remembering the roots is really important, because through the tracing back of the roots, you come into so much more understanding. And it has to be a felt experience, lived experience, when you find the wounds within you that have been passed down for generations. And then you find the wisdom and the magic and the medicine there too. But it can't be bypassed. But through the roots is where you really get into deep connection with source, with spirit. So yeah, it's like there's a little process that happens there that's actually quite simple, but we've just been disconnected from this understanding and wisdom for a little while here. But the plants are here to support us and remind us of that connection.
I love that suggestion. And I feel like, especially in the United States, we're so disconnected from our lineages, and we feel like spiritually homeless and disconnected from the land. And we're missing what generations of ancestors before us had, which is that community and that connection and that understanding of their roots. So I think it is so, so powerful. With the Mayan astrology. Okay, so I looked up my chart, and I think I'm a galaxy number 8 and a monkey.
So that's not the Mayan calendar.
Oh, that's the fake one.
Exactly. So, like I said, if you just Google does not take you to the sacred calendar, the ancient calendar. And so there's some fun stuff within that calendar, obviously, like, oh, it sounds fun, but it's not rooted in truth. It's not rooted in those indigenous ancient roots. So I do recommend people check out my website so you can find the true calendar, and there's other websites out there, but that's not the right one. And I can look up yours real quick right here so we can actually go over what it really is.
I'm so glad this is coming up because I know this would have happened for so many people. And I'm so happy that you're shining light on this.
Yeah, exactly. So you are an 8 bots, which this is the thing about that calendar. It sometimes gives you the correct animal. So you do have the monkey. The monkey is the clever one. 8 represents wholeness, right? It's a beautiful, whole, nice number there. Bots is the creative genius of all the Noels. Okay, it's the star of the show. There would be no wonder that you would have your own show, but they're here to shine. And it's really beautiful because people love to witness them and they love to be seen as well. And there's that another symbiotic relationship that happens in that shining, in that showing up. But they're really good at different things because they're so creative. So whether that is dancing or singing, which they're usually pretty good at, these things, whatever they really are passionate about, they can be the master of any chosen art. So it's just, finding the focus and honing in on that once they've understand these other aspects of themselves. But then with everything, when it comes to understanding who you are on the shadow side, one of the shadows would be being critical or judgmental of others because things come to you very easily that you're good at these things. You would expect everybody else to be good at their thing too sometimes. So it can be a little bit judgmental in a sense. That would be like one of the little shadows there. But that's your main Mayan sign.
Thank you. Yeah, I relate to that shadow for sure. I feel like something I've been working through lately is feeling entitled to people showing up a certain way in my life, which stems from judgment. Like, I don't get it. It's easy for me to show up and it's easy for me to do these things. And so I think, yeah, that makes sense. And I was a theater major and I do sing. So that also makes sense.
And then you have this ability to be the bridge. I'll share a little bit more just in depth of seeing like one of your inner energies. You have the number 13 in your chart in your conception. That's beautiful connection to the ancestors, to the unseen, to the magic. No wonder, your podcast is called what it is called. And Akabal, which is the bridge between things, it represents twilight, and it's kind of like really understanding duality or the bridge between something, whether that is light and dark, day and night, science and spirituality, the waking dream or reality versus the dreamland. So very magical to have that ability, and it's like connected to the dreams as well. So it's cool that we talked about that too.
I love that. And I feel like as a medium, like that's very synonymous with being a bridge. Like I'm bridging the spirit world with the physical world, but I'm also super interested in the bridge between science and magic. So, oh, so cool and so resonant. And I'm so grateful to you for sharing a little bit of my chart with me. And so, can everybody go to your website and find their chart there?
Yes, exactly. So just, plug it in and you can find like a mini reading. So I'm so excited for people to be able to do that. Yeah.
I know that so many people are going to want to book Mayan astrology readings with you. So I'm wondering, so 2012 was the end of that 5,000 or so year cycle. We're in the fifth sun cycle. And are there any you kind of hit on this already, but is there anything else you want to say about how we can show up as our best in the fifth sun cycle or just like keywords for this era?
I think the most important thing is to have practices to stay in our center so that we're connected to the heart and grounded in our connection. Really feeling that connection and feeling grounded with the mother, right? And so that you can kind of move from that space of honoring your first mother and that connection. I think it's really important that we all reparent our inner child on our own as well. But when you do have that ability to connect with the mother as your first mother, it's so supportive as well. Then, right, connecting that energy with your heart so that you're connected to this seat of the soul, moving from this place here, and also connecting with the heart of the cosmos so that you're in that between state, really knowing that you are the merging between the heart of the earth, the heart of the sky. Literally here to be an anchor of their light. And it's through that just remembering and often. This is why rituals are important. This is why having some discipline and devotion to the path is really important too.
This summer, I am calling in Sorceress Summer, a summer where we are devoting ourselves to our spiritual, divining, beautiful, magical practices. And I am opening round 3 of my signature mentorship program, Becoming the Oracle. It is an intensive 8-week program that has been so life changing for the 16 oracles that have gone through it so far. It's all about intuitive development and building a evidential, ethical, and reliable framework that will not only serve you in your divination practices, but also attune you to spirit and help you live your most confident, highest timeline. A lot of students who have come through the program have been doctors or lawyers or therapists, people who don't even necessarily want to be professional full-time readers, but what they are learning through this program, they've always felt this call for deeper intuitive and spiritual connection that enriches every aspect of their life. And those skills are woven into their professions, their life, and how they make the choices moving forward on their path. So I'm so excited to connect with whoever will join round 3 and 4 and beyond. If you feel this call, I know it can be so scary to join a container and to trust yourself, but it's a very supportive, gentle, open, playfully curious place to explore. So I cannot wait to connect with you. You can find more information about Becoming the Oracle on my website, angelsandamethyst.com. You can apply for the program there, and you can also look at what each week's course material covers. It's a mix of pre-recorded lectures, live virtual practice sessions, and then homework on your own time, as well as a Slack group that is constantly giving updates. I share downloads. You can ask questions. So it's a really intensive, beautiful program. And one of the best parts of it is the community building and the coven of beautiful oracles that you become a part of in the process. So if you feel the whisper, if you resonate with me as a teacher, if you feel like, oh, I know that there's more to unlock in my spiritual gifts, we all have these gifts, and it's the honor of my lifetime to help you discover them for yourself. So angelsandamethyst.com, Becoming the Oracle. I will see you for Sorceress Girl Summer. So it's just kind of all about like rooting deeper into our power, our connection to the land, reparenting ourselves, like nourishing ourselves through times of great awakening and change. And then was the era before this like the era of the fourth sun, or what was the category of the 5,000 years before?
So there was the first, the second, the third, fourth, fifth. Exactly. We're in the fifth now.
So how do we, and this is probably on your site and in your work too, but are there any like lucky dates in Mayan astrology or fortuitous times for like divination or connection? Or how can we crack open the magic?
So every single one day is sacred to the Maya. So Hun Day is a time to come into ceremony, to create a ceremony and be with fire. You know, traditionally the Maya, they sit with the fire and they call the fire the ear of God. And they will have these big, beautiful traditional Mayan fire ceremonies where, so during a Hun Day, you can burn a candle and let that support you in representing a fire. But for the Maya, they have Mayan fire ceremonies connecting with God and all aspects of divinity and feeling into gratitude and, you know, making petitions, being in prayer. And so that's on every one day. That's one thing you can do. Again, every day is very unique. Today is a really beautiful day to connect with community. It's 10 tall in the sacred calendar. Connect with community and give offerings. So today would be a beautiful day to be in a fire ceremony because 10 represents community. Tall represents offerings and to be of service, to give something, to be of sacrifice. So what can we do? What can we give? We can give to the fire, right? That's what the Maya do. They give to the fire, whether that is cacao or copal or flowers or their voices, their prayers. So, you can sing, you can say some prayers, and this can be a really beautiful offering today to support you, but also to be in reciprocity because you get to know that you're receiving so much all of the time, right? Literally the air becoming your breath, right? So just everything and anything you think of, you are being provided for. So there's so much to be in thanks to and to give back to. So that's the energy for today. But yeah, it's just knowing what's going on every day. There's many days to be in ceremony. And when you're checking out the calendar online, it'll go over the energies of that day. And then you'll see, oh, is this a good day? But the most important day for you actually would be your Mayan birthday. So every time your sign comes up, the 8 bats or mine, the 3 Ashpu, this is a day of magic and manifestation, actually. So that is your power day. That is ancestors listening to conspire in your favor to support you in manifesting anything you want in your life. So you want to be very intentional that day to be in ceremony, to be in gratitude. Those are two of the things, your Mayan birthday and 1 days.
Yeah, so obviously that isn't going to be our Gregorian calendar birthday because it's a shorter cycle. So we should go to your website and see when that like return day is.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be a way where you can like plug it in and you can see when it is. I think I'll have to get like a Google plugin or something so you can like calculate it to see it in the future.
That is so cool. And I think it will be so cool too to reflect on my previous days and track them and see like what happened for me on those days. And something I like about what you're describing with Mayan astrology is that for me, even as a Western astrologer, I'm not a huge fan of predictions. I think sometimes predictions can be rooted in control instead of service. And I just don't always see how they're helpful. And I like how the Mayan astrology is like, this is the energy that we're co creating with today. This is the cycle today. It feels like it's focused on more presence and less prediction. And I personally resonate with that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Living in flow with what's happening in the now.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering, like, how has being aware of these Mayan calendar days and the energies that you're co creating with, like, how has that manifested for you? Have you kind of just had synchronicities along the path? Like, of course you have, but I just want to hear about them.
So many, and yes, so much so. The more you're living in it, the more you'll see it for yourself. But it's like I'm literally like the living prophecy, in a way, and so too are you. But it's like I can see that being lived out where I am, knowing my purpose. It's like I'm living it out on the daily. Like, my purpose is to really uplift people for them to come back into connection with spirit, but to honor their roots, because like I mentioned before, what that then leads to is really that understanding of unity, but you can't come to unity consciousness by bypassing our lived experience. Yeah, it's just really cool because I'm really getting the message out there. A big thing for me is like uplifting, communities that have been oppressed, my brown community, for instance, and the things that they're moving through. But it's really cool to be getting this wisdom out there to people who have a big platform and large stage to speak to these things and to share the wisdom of this. Like I just had Jessica Alba, I just did a reading for her. And yeah, a lot of like celebrities and people who just have, some platform, like we're getting it out there. And that's really powerful because it impacts so many people. But then also just like living in alignment with my heart, it's supporting me again and coming into that connection with my essence as well as with source, and being able to then manifest like the love of my life, my divine counterpart. That's definitely something to share. It's like just wow, just lots of synchronicities. And like I mentioned, how my ancestors come to me in dreams. They were coming to me even more so when one of my relatives passed away, and he'd come to me to really understand love, and we would do work within the dream world because he hadn't really understood it here in his physical form. And then that brought us together, me and my beloved. Like I really understood that he was my divine counterpart in the dream, and I experienced it in the dreamland before I got to experience it in reality. So things like that. I don't know if that even made sense, but just having a more magical life.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. You're in flow and you're plugged in and you're just like trusting the timing. And I think that that's so beautiful. And I think for anybody listening to this, like if Mayan astrology interests you and you're drawn to it, it means that there's medicine in it for you and there's like a reason. I think personally, I'm not like one system is right and everything else is wrong. I think it's all just different frameworks of looking at magic and different tools that we can use. And everything that you're sharing feels so uplifting. Like the frequency of this divining system goes hand in hand with your number and your sign, I feel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, I'm really excited if people are, interested in it too. They can start to work with the energies right through that calendar on my website too. And I have a Mayan Oracle deck that's coming out on May 12th. And so they can start to work with and divine with the energies and different Mayan notable aspects as well. So I'm really excited about that. And that's published with Hay House. It's going to be so beautiful. Like the artistry is beautiful as well.
Okay, this is so funny because your episode is coming out May 20th. So it's like right when that Oracle deck pops off. So that's perfect timing.
That's epic. Yeah. I'm so excited for May. Yay.
I love that. I have to tell you a funny story. So, when I was 11, I visited Chichen Itza with my family. And it's when you could still climb to the top. You can't do that anymore. But people were like, of course, taking pieces of it and being so destructive. It's so sad. So, they closed it off. You can't climb. But when I was there, I climbed to the top with my dad. It was really special. And this is before I like opened up to being a medium or an intuitive or anything like that. But the energy there was so powerful and intense and like climbing to the top. First of all, the steps were tiny. My feet were like 10 times the size of one step. And just climbing to the top, there was something so deeply layered about the energy there and intense about the energy there. And this is what was really funny. So we were, getting the tour of the grounds, and there was that, I think, is it called a cenote when it's like the hole with the water and the fish? There was like catfish swimming.
Yes.
So there was this cenote there, and there were all of these like vines. And this had to be some crazy, like 25 years ago stuff because they're like, does anybody want to jump in? And I was the only one in my group that was like, yeah, Aries rising me. So I like got on a vine and I swung in. I was swimming with the catfishes, and then I just got full chills and I raced to the side and I was like, I have to get out. Like I didn't feel like that was a space for me to like play in and swim in. And I immediately like I was only 11. I didn't know, but I did know. I was like, oh, I should have never jumped in here. This is not like what this is for. And then later I found out that there was like all sorts of ancestral rituals and things like in that space. And I was like, why would the guide have ever let me jump in there? That's insane.
Well, it was perfect for you to then like recognize, oh, wait, I can feel things, and I felt something there. And that is exactly, yeah, how it is. It's like there are spirits everywhere on these lands as well. And when you have places like that had so much energy there and creation there and rituals there, there's going to be a big energy there. So it's kind of cool actually that you were the one to jump in the water and feel it and be like, oh, we're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is not like a casual swimming hole. This is a sacred, deep space, and we can look at it and admire it and understand the history, but we shouldn't be like doing backstrokes through it. Have you been to Chichen Itza?
Not to Chichen Itza. I've been to Tikal. I'm actually heading to Palenque this next week. I'm so excited because I've never been. I have roots from Chiapas as well, so that's really exciting. Connected to the Mayan roots, from Chiapas as well as from Guatemala. So very exciting.
That's very exciting. Like just being in that land as someone with indigenous roots in those places, like how does that connect for you? Is there just an extra openness you feel? Are your dreams more honed? Like, does the Mayan astrology line up with when you planned your trip? Like, how does that all come together?
Yeah, what's funny is I haven't looked back to see what days I was there, but I imagine, I'm sure, but every time I'd go to these different places, going to Guatemala, I would often go to Lake Atilan, which is supposed to be the creation place for the Maya. So it's just so beautiful, but also intense. And there's so much obsidian all over, which is a magic stone to the Maya as well. And, you know, could do so much divination work with it. But it can be very intense. And actually, when you're there, you're just like, this is magic. You feel the magic. You know, people don't want to leave. I mean, there's so many people there now because they don't leave. But once you get out of there, they're like, oh, now I can feel the difference. It's very interesting and fascinating. But you just feel more magic, more opened up, more able to connect with much more. The way my ancestors come through are through animals. And when I'm there, it's like you'll see the blackbird connecting with that energy. So, you know, my father's nickname was Crow. So every time I see the crow, it's like inauspicious times. It's very fascinating. But yeah, then going to these like sacred sites, it's a whole nother thing, you know. And it's fascinating because another place that the Maya weren't at, but there's a place called Monte Alban in Mexico. It's actually near Oaxaca. I felt so much energy, and it was at a time too. I'm sure in the calendar it was like a very intense and powerful time, probably like a 13 or a jaguar, because I went to a jaguar temple and it was the most intense thing I had ever felt, you know, when it came to different sites. But then I've been to Tikal since, and then that was incredible. I like have no words. It's just the more you go to these places after having the experiences that you have and connecting with sacred time, the calendar, yeah, it's just there's more depth there, more to feel.
That's so beautiful. And I think something so cool about astrology too is that we don't need to manufacture magic and be like, this day is this energy. So I'm going to do this thing. It's like some of my favorite ways to use astrology is to live your life authentically and follow and then see how you're validated by what the astrology says. Like it's so magical.
Exactly. My partner was just sharing with me the day that he had his first ayahuasca ceremony. His first and last, actually, was on a 7 Kame day. 7 represents endings, Kame represents death and transformation. So obviously, it was huge for him, very transformative. And, you know, he died and was reborn the next day. And what is the next day? Wholeness. So just so auspicious. And Ke, which is the spiritual guide. So it was like, right on path, and he's an incredible spiritual guide, divine masculine. So yeah, exactly. I like to do that too, and I need to do that with when I was in Tikal because that was so profound.
I love that. So it just popped in my head. It'd be so cool if you led like a workshop or hosted some sort of retreat in a place that's sacred that feels really connected to the lineage. Cause I know there's probably a lot of people out there with Mayan ancestry or just wanting to reconnect to their roots, to those ancient magic systems that have been pushed to the sides and the forefront of consciousness.
Yeah, or even past lives. A lot of people who come from me have had past lives as a Mayan. And so there's this deep connection and understanding of the importance of the system, which is really cool. So, absolutely, I had a retreat in Tikal a couple years ago, and I do intend to do another one, but this time even more closely connected with the calendar. As last time it was more about cacao. It's like for sure it will be with cacao too. Mine's, you know, fire ceremony with our elders as well. But I would love for us to dive into the calendar more so too.
Is so cool. And is there anything else that you want people to know about this work or your work or just any message that's on your heart to share in these times?
Yeah, you know, I think sometimes there can be this understanding of, oh, it's not my lineage, you know, maybe I shouldn't dabble into that. But it's like, it's coming online for a reason. And if you're here, it's for you to receive as well. And as long as you come to the medicine with an open heart, an open mind, and a humbleness, like it's for you too. You know, the open heart is just, it's everything. So that's it.
I love that. That's beautiful. And can you tell us a little more about your divination deck?
Yeah, so it'll have all of the nawals so that you can see all of those unique energies, the 20 nawals. Then you have the 13 numbers. Then you'll go into deities as well as notable aspects of Mayan culture. So, like, you know, about cacao, connecting with the energy of cacao. There's a spirit there, just like everything has spirit within it. We'll go into jade as well, right? Jade, I have like jade stones because of the importance of jade, corn, sacred corn, or, you know, different animals like the quetzal or jaguar. Just so much beauty within it. And I'm so excited. It's 47 different cards within the whole deck. And then it'll go more into what the calendar is and what it means. So just being able to like go into even more depth and read about that is actually quite rare because there aren't a lot of books. And there's actually a fake Mayan oracle deck out there too, which is so bizarre.
Wow.
I know, and I don't even know what it all says. A lot of times they'll say like galactic this for the calendar or dream spell. And that in itself sounds like not something you want to mess with. But yeah, there's actually, it says the Mayan oracle deck, and it's not a real Mayan oracle deck. So this will be the first true Mayan oracle deck that is of the ancient wisdom and understandings that were taught to me by my elders, by my tatas and nana. So I'm so honored and so excited to bring this to people.
The fact that so many people are making these fake Mayan tools shows that there's such a hunger and a need for truth and authenticity when it comes to Mayan wisdom, and your voice is so needed. So I'm so glad that you're putting that out there so that there's something that people can turn to that's actually rooted in integrity and authenticity.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so grateful, so honored, and it's like again, it's here right on time. It's necessary, it's needed, and it's been prophesied. Like we are in the prophecy now. So yeah, I'm so grateful.
That's amazing. And so, where can everyone find you? Because I know people are going to want to get readings with you and look up their Mayan astrology and get your book and your decks. Like, what are all the things?
Yeah, I think on Instagram is a good way because you can just see it all there, which is just Christine Olivia _. So CHRISTINE Olivia OLIVIA _. Or my website is IamChristineOlivia.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. I've loved this conversation and I'm really excited to check out your website, and I'll definitely be getting your cards.
Oh, yay. I'm so excited. Can't wait to hear how you like it. Yeah, I'm excited for everyone. Thank you so much.
Welcome back to Sitting with Spirit, my loves, the part of the podcast where I sit with our angels, our guides, our loved ones in spirit, and give the messages for the collective. As always, take what resonates, leave the rest. And if you're watching via video, then you can see that I'm not in the studio today. Magic Hour is officially on the go proof. I can now record anywhere, which is really good, just because I got a travel case. So I'm coming from Pennsylvania today and gonna be here for my sister-in-law and brother-in-law's wedding, and it's super exciting. So I'm at the house right now. Okay, getting into the messages for the week. So the first thing came through as I was walking actually through the city of Philly. I'm wearing my Philly shirt right now, which was a gift and I love it. The first message that came through was to the effect of when we think, oh, my spirit guides are mad at me, my angels are annoyed with me, or will they understand why I did this, this, and this? Like a common thing in my readings is like clearly, they need to stay in the angel reading section a little more where they ask questions and get guidance. And they're like, will my past loved ones be mad at me that I'm not choosing mediumship or that I'm not talking to them? And the answer is always no, because sometimes I think that in the asking of those questions, they're very sincere, and I understand why we can feel that way, but it's also diminishing just how nuanced, layered, and intelligent the spirit world is, and our angels and our guides are. And so when we say, like, will my angels be mad at me for XYZ, we're basically distilling their intelligence down to that of like a cave person, like a caveman, like this equals bad, this equals good, when in reality, our spirit guides operate outside of the realms of our own resistance. They understand nuance, they understand the layers. They're out here, creating signs and synchronicities in the most beautiful, perfect, amazing way that our brains could never understand. And so, I really believe that humans are the most powerful form of energy on earth. But I think spirit and our angels and guides are the most intelligent and loving form, but they can't make physical change on earth without us because we are the most powerful. So we can know, okay, say for example, my guides told me to like leave this person or leave this job, but I wasn't ready to yet, or I was scared, or I didn't take the advice right away. Your angels and your guides understand that. The dynamic and connection and relationship with them is so much deeper, and they are so much more intelligent than sometimes those questions suggest that they are. So I just want to say that as a little comfort blanket to anyone out there, because part of the energy reading this week, I really felt people questioning their guides, questioning their level support. And I just want to give a deep message here that you are supported, and they get it. They get it more than you could ever know. And sometimes they get it more than we consciously get it. So trust that and know that. And know that our loved ones in spirit are never mad at us, because I truly believe, like, when we leave our physical body, we also leave the density that is being in a physical body. And spirit vibrates so much higher than our physical body can allow, that I really think that lower vibrational emotions just aren't an energetic match for them. So when I started to open up to the energy of the week, I felt a lot of sort of foggy energy. Like, it felt really hard to see clearly. It felt like people might be questioning things. It felt like there might be some pessimism about the future. There's almost like a spectrum here. On one end of the spectrum, it's kind of just fog and not feeling clear and kind of being in a transitional time and not really seeing clearly or knowing what comes next. And then the other end of the spectrum is like pessimism and projection and fear of the future. And so it just feels like there's just this sense of a lot of people being in crossroads or in between moments, or trying to balance conflicting things demanding their attention. And so it just feels like whenever you're listening to this, it's a time to be really easy on yourself. It's a time to let yourself rest, to take care of yourself, to not put any pressure on it, because it feels like the more we try to push through like the fog or even the projection, like a lot of it feels like projection or even cynicism, like, well, how could this ever work out? Or will this ever happen for me? Like, it just feels like our mind might be going to dark places, or rather, our inner villain voice might be going to dark places. And so I really feel like a lot of this is us projecting something way more painful or difficult than the reality, but we can't really see that yet, or we're not really feeling that yet. And so there's just this sort of like check in moment of take care of yourself. If you need to go punch something, like, this might be a good time to just go into one of those rooms where you can just hammer things. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like destruction rooms or something like that, or just like get it out in a voice note, like vent, get it all out, because it just feels like there's a lot of kind of layered energy right now, a lot of intense energy, and it feels like it needs to go somewhere. So make sure you're not just ruminating or bottling it up. And if these thoughts are kind of sneaky, try to really pay attention to them so they don't sneakily or subconsciously pull your puppet strings. And so something that I want to talk about a little bit is when we're in these moments where our inner villain voice turns into our inner villain artist, and they're out here in their little French beret painting up masterpieces of like our worst fears or projections, or thinking like, oh, my ex is with someone else and I'm sure this is what it looks like. Like, our inner villain voice loves to be a painter or a filmmaker, perhaps. Choose your inner villain voice's artistic medium, but they're artists. And when that happens, which I feel like it might be coming up for us this week, and it might be part of what feels dysregulating or confusing, I really ask you, where is the evidence? Because just like with evidential mediumship, angels and guides, our spiritual practice, I say we are moving from a dark age spiritually into the Renaissance, where we are no longer operating on blind faith. And instead, we are really asking and demanding and only really accepting evidence. And so, with our own personal development journey, that demands evidence as well. Like, where is the evidence to back up what our inner villain voice is saying? Because we are so primed on this mental level to just plug right into story. It is what marketing depends on. It is what like most religions depend on. All of these systems that be depend on us plugging into story and out of our own embodied felt truth. And this pattern of the inner villain voice making things seem worse than they really are, or creating painful stories not rooted in evidence, that is an opportunity for us. It is handing us the key to our shackles to unburden ourselves to a deeper level. asking us to recalibrate the way that our mind works and looks for things. And it's like we are giving so much emotional connection and worry and validation to these stories that are not rooted in any truth or evidence. They are projections created by the part of our psyche trying to keep us safe, but that's also perfectly tailored to our worst fears, insecurities, and past experiences. And so I think that if we're asking our spiritual community to move into a spiritual renaissance, the personal development has to follow and co-create and be one and the same so that that can happen. And this is an opportunity when things feel foggy, fantastical, or like our inner villain artist is running away painting pictures. Really, like, check in with what I'm calling our inner FBI agent who can check that inner villain artist. That's like, okay, this is the story that my inner villain is saying. Where's the evidence? Where's the proof? And really try to distill it down. And then you can ask your higher self, what is your message about what's coming up right now? And then check in. Now, where's the evidence for that? Where's the truth for that? And you might surprise yourself. You might find so much more evidence of love and hope and peace and healing than you would give yourself credit for, because it only drains you and hurts you when you get sucked into narratives that are not rooted in evidence or truth. And it truly is like this foundational energetic pattern that's at the root of all of the ways that we've lost our way. All of the ways that, like, collectively we've lost our way is when we ignore our own embodied experience and plug into story. The energy this week just felt very layered and intense. And just know, like, when I give these messages, it doesn't mean there isn't opportunities for joy and growth as well. I'm just sharing the messages for the collective that the most people need to hear right now. So there definitely just feels like a lot of people being like this way or that way. I feel like a lot of people are like ending chapters that were maybe 5 or 6 years long, or it just feels like we're kind of in this crossroads where even like COVID to now has been like a 5 to 6 year chapter. And it just feels like now we're like, okay, now I'm even ready for the next thing or the next version, or that thing felt outgrown. So it just feels transitional. It feels liminal. It feels unknown. It feels like it might be requiring leaps of faith. It feels like it's asking us to just root down into our own embodied experience and to honor that and to just follow the momentum and continue to trust yourself. And I also feel like it can be a really beautiful boost energetically this week to be with the people you love, to gather with the people you love and be around people that kind of lift you up and help you feel more like you in those moments where you might feel down. And then it was interesting as well because when I was like getting the visuals for the energy this week, I was seeing this crossroads fork in the road with signs, and that all the signs were little markers pointing different directions. And a little nuance of this message was like, it might feel black and white. It might feel like if I pick this way, then that means I don't get this thing. Or if I go this way, then this thing might never happen. And there is kind of circling back to that theme of trusting the intelligence of your higher self, trusting the intelligence of the spirit world, trusting the intelligence of the stars. Like, I really feel like there's something so beautiful about the way the universe can meet our needs when we just let go and allow it to. Like, when we try to control or force things, that's usually when we feel stuck or depleted or burnt out. And when we can just flow with what our heart is asking for and follow the momentum and take care of ourselves, that's when things so much better than we could have planned for ourselves come into our life. And that has happened to me time and time again. Like, even this business is an example of that. Like, I wanted to be a sitcom writer and I was trying to hammer that home, hammer that home, hammer that home, and I was getting nowhere. And just what this path has blossomed into is so much more beautiful and aligned to me than I could have ever known. So I feel like in this crossroads moment that I'm feeling, or this liminal transitional time, like, don't put pressure on yourself feeling like all your needs will only be met in one way. It's okay to let yourself expand a little or breathe a little, take up more space, give your angels and guides momentum to work with, because I really believe that we might have new ways that our needs will be met, new passions, new ideas, new expanded ways of thinking of things that this transitional time is also bringing in. So it feels really exciting in a way as well. And how exciting it will feel is in proportion to our ability to just trust fall and know that our needs will be met if we can just follow our heart. So going into the mediumship this week, I felt a grandfather on the father's side, and I got the name Phil. And immediately I wanted to laugh. I wanted to smile. I felt like he was a really sunny side up person and was really fun. And he felt like a veteran to me, and he walked with a cane and he was wearing a trucker hat. He was very cheerful. I felt like he had lung problems and that he had 3 sons. It seemed like the family kind of had a lot of sons, but then they had a granddaughter, and that was like the jewel, the crown jewel of this grandfather's eye. Like he loved his granddaughter so, so, so much. And I felt like he would have been with his wife in spirit as well. And I got an M name with her, and I heard Martha, but I'm not sure if it was Martha or just an M-A name. So basically, this grandfather in spirit was talking about how he had to be resourceful in life and how he had gone through a lot of hard times and how he had a lot of like really intense things that he lived through. He was telling me that no matter what he went through, he chose to keep a smile on his face. He chose to stay positive and he chose to keep his light. And he was basically just saying, like, life is hard enough without us actively choosing to make the most of things, to see the positive, to remind ourselves what we're grateful for. And I know that this is, of course, not really like a trauma informed approach. So if this isn't resonating with you or helping you, please don't feel the need to take it on. But I just was really refreshed by this spirit person's energy. Like when I was sitting in the power and when I was starting to connect, there was just this interesting feeling on the heels of that like fog feeling from our angels and kind of the heaviness in the collective. And then this spirit person came in and was like such a breath of fresh air. And I feel like choosing to be the light through hard times is an act of service to the collective as well, because we're all frustrated. We're all scared. We're all disgusted by things. We're all feeling like we want to rip things down. Like it's hard and we all feel it, or the people paying attention feel it. And it was just so refreshing to connect with someone who's like, I feel it too, and I acknowledge it, but I'm also trying to uplift or be the light or bring hope. And so I think that there is something really beautiful finding the way in this scale of like not spiritually bypassing or putting your face in the sand, but still being the light, still uplifting people, still being there for people. So that was really beautiful. And I just really feel like, he was kind of saying like, we're here on earth for a really short time and I'm choosing to have fun and I'm choosing to make the most of it. So that was just really beautiful and a good reminder because since the beginning of time, people have thought the world was going to end. People think that whatever time they're living in is the darkest time to live. But there's always something to be grateful for, even if it's just as simple as I go to the grocery store and there's food. I have a place to sleep. Like we live so comfortably compared to previous generations of humans. Historically, we're living in a more comfortable time than ever. And so there is just this feeling here of can we focus on that? Like we have indoor plumbing, we can control hot and cold water. Like I know things aren't perfect. I know that the systems aren't perfect, but for our own sake and for the people around us, how can we find the light and the gratitude and create more of it for each other too? And so it just was really refreshing to connect with this grandfather in spirit because we get to choose what we focus on. We get to choose how we show up for other people. We get to choose the community we're building, and we get to choose how we spend this short time here on planet Earth. So I hope that these messages were helpful. I'm sending you all so, so much through these layered transitional times that might be bringing up some fear or dysregulation in the collective, and just know we're all in it together. And how can you show up for the people around you? And if we all do that, it will truly be a better world for all. All right. Much love, everyone, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Magic Hour Podcast. We love to hear in the Spotify comments, in the YouTube comments, on our Instagram, what you thought of the episode, what it brings up for you. We appreciate the support and the engagement of the pod so deeply. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave us 5-star reviews so that more magical people can find the pod and join the hummingbird community. Our next angel and mediumship reading giveaway will happen when we hit 333 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We've already hit it on Spotify, so Apple Podcast is the only one we're waiting for. The way to join the giveaway is to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and to share us on your social media, tag us on your stories. Send a screenshot. Any of those submissions each count as one submission, and send those screenshots to contact@magichourpod.com, and you will be entered into all future giveaways. And I absolutely love connecting with the hummingbird community in this way. We are an indie podcast, totally produced by me, and all of the support, the engagement, the telling your magical friends and family and coven about this show really keeps our lights on. So we love you all so, so much. See you next week, and never forget that you are magic.